Everybody breathe.
We're here, baby.
We're here. Welcome, 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 everybody, to a very special edition of the Not Your Average Investor Show. We want to welcome the Fortune Builders family. The Passive Income Club is in the house. I am the host of the show, Pablo Gonzalez. With me, as always, is a man that I affectionately have nicknamed GC because he knows how to generate cash flow, because he's a great co-host, because he's got some genius concepts, and because his parents happen to name him Gregg Cohen. Say hello, Gregg.
Hello, everybody. Great to be with you.
Good to be with you, buddy. And it's good to be with us. This is a ongoing series that we have with the man, the myth, the legend, he who has taught thousands of real estate investors how to build billions of dollars in real estate net worth. Our favorite Hall of Famer of the Not Your Average Investor Show, head of the Passive Income Club for Fortune Builders, Paul Shively. Welcome to the show, Paul.
Glad to be here, man. It feels like, I know I say this every time, but it feels like coming home every time I get to hang out with the JWB crew, the community, of course, the Fortune Builders community, that they're always near and dear to my heart. They know that. But it's such a wonderful marriage, JWB and Fortune Builders. I love it. It feels like coming home every time I get to jump on with you boys.
I
was going to say, speaking of marriage, almost 20 years now that we have been attached to him as a part of the Passive Income Club. So, man.
Hey, we've been together longer than my wife and I've been together. I don't know
How
if you
about
know
that, huh?
Yeah, right. I'm coming up on 15 years of marriage, but Greg, we've been together longer than I've been married, my friend.
Listen, when something is so right, you just keep on keeping on, baby.
Exactly. There's a lot of jokes we can make about, 1960s love songs, but we'll just skip right past those.
This is very different. Usually it's more like a big brother, little brother, like jiving at each other kind of thing. But today we're going with a marriage, just a happy, happy couple. It reminds me of the Perfect Couple on Netflix. I've been watching that. Anyways, that would make you Nicole Kidman and you are Liev Schreiber. All right. So welcome to the community. If this is your first time joining us, we do this as a special edition of a show that we host weekly on Tuesdays at 12:30. We call it the Not Your Average Investor Show. We have our own thriving community, tons of Fortune Builders faithful that join us from there. And we have a little tradition on which way we start the show. Do you know what that is, GC?
We call that the roll call.
We call it the roll call, baby. And of course, leading us off on the roll call is the MVP of the Not Your Average Investor community,
Mr. Lee Bishop.
Mr. Lee Bishop. Our community manager, Joanna's in the house saying hello. We've got, you're going to have to forgive me for butchering this, Brickiley?
I believe you did very well there.
Brickiley Holden.
Right.
Good to have you.
Nice to see you.
Yeah, good to see you, Brickiley. We got the patron Santorius of the Not Your Average Investor community from Northern Virginia. We got Irene Saldana saying hello. We got the fairy godmother of the Not Your Average Investor community with us. Miss Jen Filson. We got Kristen Dickerson in the house from Madison, Alabama. Good to have you, Kristen. Who else is checking in here? We got Melrose Joanna. Good to have you, Melrose. And John Williams. He was with us yesterday on the show.
Oh, fantastic.
On Tuesday on the show. Good to have you, John Williams. And anybody else? Anybody else checking in? All right. Well, I'm sure more people will check in once they realize that we're so far. Oh, we've got El Gran Amigo of the Not Your Average Investor Show.
Desde Duval. Bill Shields. Welcome, Bill.
Bill Shields with a trademark. Buenas tardes, amigos. Good to have you, Bill Shields. Diane Jacques from Concord, Massachusetts. All right, Diane.
Lots of new names.
I love it. Well, we've done this a bunch, but this is a kind of a new reset to this, right? We realize that there's a lot of newcomers to Fortune Builders. There's been a lot of newcomers to the Not Your Average Investor show. And we realized this week that we've been doing a lot of advanced content. And some of this like new how to get started content, people are dying for it.
Yeah.
Right. We've got some really good reviews about it. So I just want to give a little bit of history about who these two guys are, who they are to me. A couple of real estate legends in the house here, right? Like Paul, I've gotten the good fortune to do multiple shows with Paul. I see him as one of the foremost educators in real estate in America, a guy who is always giving, right? Like from setting up your dad's retirement through JWB and the Passive Income Club concepts to always very generous with your time as a teacher to a guy that, man, you've just invested in just about everything possible in real estate and you have the receipts and the scars to prove it and all the lessons to share. So Paul, just really cool to have you on board. Do you want to give a little bit of like background of the Passive Income Club and what it, how they put you in charge of it?
Yeah, happy to, man, and love being here. Thank you. You're very kind. You skipped the hairline from having, billions of dollars of scars and scar tissue, but I appreciate that. Was very kind of you to skip that one. But yeah, for those of you who may not know me, right, I've been around the Fortune Builders community for, gosh, 15 years now, right? So when Fortune Builders was, gosh, 30 some odd employees, right? I was, probably in that mid 30s, got hired 15 years ago, and gosh, we have 60,000 plus students, right? We've been doing this for better part of a decade and a half. Helped over 5,000 families. That's the thing I'm the most proud of. Specifically at the Passive Income Club, we've helped over 5,000 families, right? Invest in real estate and grow their wealth and help them hit their goals, right? Which is great. Like, I've got the best job ever, right? What do? I get to help people invest in real estate. And that's really what the Passive Income Club does, right? So Fortune Builders is the big umbrella, and the Passive Income Club is underneath that umbrella. It's part of something that the Fortune Builders community has access to. And what we do really simply is we help you get to your financial goals on the passive side, right? The active side is flipping and wholesaling and putting your time in. The passive side is, well, how do you get your dollars that you earn from your day job, that's in your 401k, that you inherited, or that you make from your flips and your wholesales? How do you get that working for you passively? And that's what we do. We do that all day long, every day, twice on Tuesday, right? We've been doing it for 15 years. That's those 5,000 families plus that we've helped. And it's cool. The success is awesome. I mean, those 5,000 families have purchased, darn near just under $2 billion of real estate over the last decade and a half, which is amazing, right? But the cool thing about that is it's been, and we'll talk a lot more about this and later in the show, is anyone can buy real estate, right? But the trick is, how do you buy real estate that makes sure it fits into your plan, which is what we'll talk about, and actually gets you to where you're wanting to go, right? You don't want to just invest to invest. How do you invest to make sure it's custom to you, right? And that's the beauty of what the Passive Income Club does. It's very one-on-one, very custom. We've got a lot of team members, and Greg, a lot of them sit with you and help people every day get to where they want to go. And that's the beauty of it. So I keep doing this, 15 years later, right?
Love it, man. And GC, I'm an investor just like everybody else here, right? Like looking for passive income, looking for a different way to retire. And GC, you're a guy that is kind of like a firstborn son of Fortune Builders, right? Like you came up through this system and you created this arm that Fortune Builders is able to like leverage because you have dedicated your life over the last 18 years to helping people invest in real estate passively because it doesn't have to be as hard as they say. In doing so, you now have this company, JWB Real Estate Capital, that has 120 plus employees, owns 20 city blocks of downtown Jacksonville, manages 6,000 properties, 1,700 investors, probably hundreds of Fortune Builders investors.
Absolutely.
Within all of it, win Best Places to Work awards, been featured on the front page of the Wall Street Journal a couple of times. Greg, when you think about this whole idea of passive income, like what moves you so much for this part of it?
I'm so glad you asked, because I think that is a great place to start, right? So many investors start looking at a deal or the financing or thinking about maintenance cost or things like that of that nature. And those are all important. But what many fail to do is to think about what is driving you? What is motivating you? For me, I am one of those 5,000 plus families that Paul Shively is talking about directly impacting and improving their lives through real estate. I really am kind of the first one. I was actually the very first Fortune Builder student, well before there was ever a Fortune Builders, when it was CT Homes, and they were buying and selling and building a rental property portfolio for themselves. They then had the idea to start the education business, which was Fortune Builders, and they needed a guinea pig. And guess who that guinea pig was? It was myself and my business partner at the time. And so I got to build these incredible relationships with Paul Shively, with Than Merrill, with the entire team. And those relationships are the single greatest thing that has happened to me in real estate since I started 18 years ago, 19 years ago now. And for me, the major driving thing, when I saw the Fortune Builders and the Passive Income Club, and I saw what I wanted when I got to know Than and Paul and Paul Shively and Conrad and everybody there, I said, you know what? What this really represents to me is time ownership. it wasn't about making millions and millions of dollars for me. The thing that made me stop my career in corporate America, follow Fortune Builders, and then build a business based on helping others invest in rental properties is I wanted to own my own time. And I looked at the idea of building up an army of income producing assets as being those widgets that were going to help me as eventually I would have a wife and kids of my own, that I would be able to control my time and go and see my daughter's volleyball tryouts like she has today, or go and be there for my son's baseball games, or go and support my wife when she's doing something really cool. And so that's what drove me. And through passive income, through Fortune Builders, I was able to see that, you know what, everyday people can do this. You may be an expert in real estate. You may not be an expert in real estate. You may live in a certain market that's great for real estate and holding rental properties. You may not. And when I saw it, I said, listen, I want to build a business that can help others achieve what I've been blessed to achieve through rental property investing. And that's time ownership.
Amazing. Amazing. So speaking of time ownership, when you join such a robust community and such a powerful platform as Fortune Builders, you know, it's kind of hard to wrap your mind and wrap your schedule around like understanding everything that's available to you, right? So I think it's easy to like get caught up in, you know, there's 50 different types of ways to do real estate. This passive income club side is a little bit different, right? Like this is more for the folks that, you know, want to set a true North Star and might need some help, you know, kind of like setting what that might be. And then, you know, introductions to some people that like can really, really help them get there. And Paul, you as the head of this thing, I think you speak very well to the different emotions of kind of like getting into the passive income club program and how you tie it to kind of like people's wants and needs and how you talk to them. You want to kind of like give the folks that are with us today a little primer of just like what to be ready for here.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, look, investing in real estate and trying to change the trajectory of your family, right? Like those 5,000 families you talked about. I mean, that's what we're talking about here, right? Like you're changing the financial trajectory of a family. Greg, like you talked about, you wanted to have that freedom. That's changing the trajectory financially where your family is going. It can be overwhelming, right? Like it's a little bit scary. Let's just take a minute. Like it's a lot, and that's okay. So what we noticed when we started Fortune Builders is we were providing all these tools, these amazing, you know, like it's a Ferrari sitting in the garage, right? You got to figure out how to drive it. You got to figure out how to drive it in different situations, right? And what we noticed was people in the community, it's hard to differentiate, like you said, Pablo. There's so many different things you can do. So what we decided is we built a very concise system. We love to systemize everything from the Fortune Builders community. You recognize that word. We say it a lot, systemize. How do I go about starting and then implementing, building a portfolio for passive income? And a lot of people do what you talked about, Pablo, as I call it, they start on the inside, right? Where they start looking at the house or they start looking at specifics of how do I find it. Greg, you might have mentioned it, apologies, but you know, they start looking at the nitty gritty. Which neighborhood do I want to be in? How do I finance this thing? How does this work? Do I want brick or do I want stucco? How do I do this, right? And they're very transactional, detailed questions. And those aren't bad thoughts, right? But what we found having done this for 15 years, over, you know, 1.5 billion plus transactions, right? We know a thing or two. We've been around the block a couple times. The most successful people leave clues, right? Success leaves clues. And what we found is the most successful, the most repeatable, right? Kind of the most bulletproof way to go about doing this is starting outside in, not inside out. What do I mean by that? Outside in is not starting with the house or even the neighborhood or even the market, right? It's starting as macro as you possibly can. Like, why the heck are we doing this in the first place, right? What are we doing, right? Are we investing for ego? Well, then, yeah, just invest just to invest because you say you're an investor and you can go to your day job and sit around the water cooler. I invest. Is that really what you're trying to do? No, but most people on this call probably aren't doing it for that. And if you are, that's cool. But most people have it like a deeper goal, right? They want to help retire early, or they want to help their spouse retire early, or, they want to leave something for future generations, or they want to change the trajectory of their life now. They don't want to retire early. Gosh darn it, I want it now. I don't want to have to go to my day job anymore. Or, there's a lot of different reasons. When you get really nailed down on that and you start there, then we can ask, and we've done this over the course of 15 plus years, and Gregg's team and our team together, Gregg, do a really good job of this, is when you jump on the phone with us, we're going to ask more specific questions. And Gregg, I think we might even get to that a little bit later, is we're going to help you understand, well, yes, okay, you have this goal. Like my goal was to help retire my father, right? That was a big deal for me. And I've added more goals since then, but at the very beginning, my dad got sick when I was young. And I saw the impact of that illness on him. And I was like, well, shoot, there's some financial insecurity that left some scars on me. And I wanted to change that. I didn't want to have that feeling anymore. So I needed to put a plan in place that said, well, gosh darn it, I know financially we're going to be okay no matter what happens. And that was where I started. And it's evolved since then. But when you start with that, and then we can ask some more specific questions. Okay, well, what's your timeline to get that done? Well, what resources do you have to get that done? What are you afraid of? What's going to keep you up at night, right? What types of advantages from real estate are really important to you? Let's rank them. Let's have a conversation. And let's start asking these questions and nail down why you're really doing this, right? The easy thing is, oh, I would like $10,000 in passive income. We hear that all the time. Okay, great. Give me more, right? Let's really dial into that. When? How? Why? We're kind of like that annoying 5-year-old like I have at the house right now. I love him to death, but why, daddy? Why, daddy? Why, daddy? Why? He just keeps asking why, right? Well, there's power in that, because when you really ask why enough, you get down to the real, okay, now we've got a real solid agenda, a solid plan, something we're really striving to, and it's very specific. Once we get there, then step 2 is we can dial in the education to help educate you on, well, here's how you can get to that plan. Here's how your plan fits into the reality of the world as it is today. And here's the tools and the resources you're going to need to execute your plan that you set up. And that is the crux of what the Passive Income Club does. And what Gregg's team does, that's what our team does every day. So we get on the phone with people and we help them build these plans and give them the education, which then empowers them to go and implement their plan, right? It's not just about buying real estate. Buying real estate, it's a widget, right? If I could buy a pen and I can finance into it and it help me get to my financial goals, I do it, right? Pens don't kick off cash flow like real estate does. I can't leverage into buying pens. They don't provide me taxes. Like real estate's a widget. It's great, but it's a widget. We got to figure out why we're doing it, how we want to do it, get you the education so you can start to then see those results that are custom to you, not custom to the average investor, right? The whole name of the show, don't be average, not an average investor, right? We want to help customize that portfolio to you. Pablo, I know I talked a little bit because I get passionate about this stuff, but Gregg, fill in any gaps I might have because we've been doing this together for 15 years, my friend.
Man, I love listening to you speak. It's because you're speaking from the heart. And, when we're talking about emotions, it's really interesting because a lot of people are emotional about real estate for the wrong reasons. They let emotions drive one house over another. But I think understanding what is really driving the overall plan, maybe taking a minute to get emotional with yourself and understand it in that regard will set you up to make sure you're doing this for the right reasons. And here's why, guys. Investing in real estate can be extremely lucrative. You ask everyday people on the streets, is real estate a good investment? Most of the people will say yes. In fact, there's many polls that we talk about often on the show that say that real estate is the best long-term investment for wealth, according to most Americans. So people get that. But here's the deal. The way to win in real estate is to buy and hold. And guess what? It can get complicated. You have some ups, you have some downs. You understanding what the real why is and why you are doing this is going to help you make the right long-term decisions. It's going to help you overcome some of these times that you're going to stub your toe. Because, I own over 400 rental properties, and I've owned those rental properties for almost about 18 years now. So if you want to know if I've been through some tough times in real estate, have I had an eviction? Have I had some of these war stories that happened? Absolutely. But why do I take that in stride? Well, number one, it's because those down times are way outnumbered by the positive times, but also I know where I'm going. I'm here to build a better retirement account for myself. I'm here to build a better family structure than otherwise I would have had because I have more time to spend with my family. And you need to understand that before you get into any type of investment, especially real estate.
Yeah, makes sense. You know, as I go through my journey, right, I'm way more recent than you guys, right? Like you guys have each been doing it for your late teens in your real estate kind of like career, right? Like 18 years, Paul, you're 20 years in or something like that. And I'm a little under 5 years, right? And it's still very close to me, that idea of just like, yeah, I just want 10,000 bucks a month in passive cash flow, right? That's like, I feel like that's everybody's first kind of like first thing that they say, $10,000 a month in passive cash flow. And I'll tell you, it's hard to quantify the value of clarity around, why I'm doing this, that I've been able to achieve. And, for me, it's this idea of seeing my father do everything right late in his life, reach enough retirement, and then like get to retirement and all of a sudden not have enough exposure to real estate in my eyes, and go through these like swings in the market late in life where he's just like most vulnerable. He can't really like move his cash as much as he can without a huge tax thing. And like now his like cash flow is taking a hit because of where he is, and juxtaposing that directly to you with 400 rental properties and this like army of cash flowing assets, and doing these kinds of things and just wanting to have agency over that period of my life where I feel like I've done everything right and I got there. Mm-hmm. Right. And that has been a very clarifying factor for me when I'm sitting across from the dinner table with my wife. And yeah, you might have a difficult resident in there, and they might be going through some hardship, or hey, a couple hurricanes are coming through Florida, and you got to just kind of like understand that these are just blips in time, and everything gets better and it continues to go up. And oh my God, there's elections, and is the world going to end? But at the end of the day, I feel so great having this like consistent asset in my portfolio that I believe outperforms most of the things that they tell you to hold on long term, and also has way less risk than most of the things that they tell you to hold on long term. So it's changed my life, right? Like being you guys as friends has changed my life. I think being surrounded by real estate investors, as you do when you join Fortune Builders, as you do when you come to the Not Your Average Investor show week over week, will completely reset your frame, because the average person out there, when you tell them you're about to invest in real estate, they've got 99 reasons to tell you why you shouldn't, right? And you got to be with that one person that's with you. We're all going into Thanksgiving in a couple of weeks. So let's just talk about, what are the preemptive conversations of how we're getting started, why we get started in this thing, so that when we start getting peppered at the dinner table, like, oh, you're doing that?
Oh yeah.
You got some, you got some good answers for that.
And Pablo, you bring up some great points, right? And that
Yeah.
evolution you talked about, that evolution, that journey you went on, right, is in the maturity of your thought process is very normal, right? That's super, super normal. You start with, we're talking about goals. Why are you talking about goals? Give me as much passive income as I can. Give it to me now. Let's go. It's very normal. And I don't want to shame that. I don't want to belittle that. I mean, we've all been there. It's good. That's a great place to start from. There's nothing wrong with that, right? But what our job is, and again, we got the track record and experience to show you, okay, we have a very repeatable system for success here. Let's just follow it. So let's just take you as an example, Pablo. Ryan and Greg, we'll probably get into some other examples later. I don't want to manipulate this too much, but okay, well, then we start talking about why. Well, what are you looking for? What are you afraid of is one of the questions. What's going to keep you up at night? I love asking that question, right? And you probably talked about it, you mentioned it. Well, my father, a little lack of liquidity late in life, and the instability later in life with the lack of liquidity and the volatility. That's what we're trying to avoid. Okay, great. Well, then we can start asking, and I'm just going to put a finer point on this, right? And we don't have to go through every question, but, well, Pablo, how old are you? How many years do you have until you want to make sure you have liquidity and not volatility, right? What else are you worried about? Or is there anything else I need to know about? Okay. Well, what is the advantages you're looking for? Is it Do you need cash flow now? Do you have a good day job and you've got cash flow, so it's growth? Well, how many years until you want to realize that growth, right? Well, okay, you see how it gets more and more evolved and we can get more and more specific. If you give us a little kernel, we're just going to keep peeling. We're going to keep peeling, right? You're going to keep peeling the onion. And eventually what blossoms is this flower of, oh, okay, now we have a really specific goal, right? Pablo, in 15 years or 5 years, I don't know, I'm just throwing it out there. 15 years, you want to have at least $10,000 a month coming in passively, but you want liquidity and you want to be able to not have that volatility. And I have a time frame of when I need to get there, right? And I'm okay deferring cash flow until that time frame because I have X coming in or Y coming. Okay, great. Now we can start to fine tune that plan off of that. And that's a more evolved, mature way to focus on building a portfolio rather than, oh man, bright shiny object over there. I think I should buy that bad boy, right? I got an email from somebody. Oh, that thing's good. I should buy that. Well, hold on. Does it fit into what we're trying to do here, right? Does that make sense, Greg?
100%, brother. 100%.
I think this is perfect timing to answer. Ernest Gargas is putting in here in the chat saying, from San Jose, California, how do I get started? Right? Like the point of this is talk about your first 3 steps towards passive income, right? How do we go from this like dialogue of the importance of the why to like what are the first 3 steps someone does? GC, you wanna lead us here?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, it starts with, I'll just share from my personal experience. Everything has come down to relationships and education. All of my success in real estate has come down to relationships and education. And so for me, when I was starting, I loved the fact that I had access to a group of experts that was way far beyond where I was at that moment in real estate. And I look for experts in every moment of my life, every part of my life. I look for people that are way far beyond where I am that I have access to.
Yep.
And then I lean on that access. And through that access, I get education. So I think focusing on those relationships and the education is where you start. Being here is a great start. And being educated and being a part of the passive income club is a great start. And then I think where you go from there is you continue to rely on your experts. So if this is something that's really interesting to you, I think you're going to have the opportunity to sit down and speak with the passive income club, with my team, and actually build a customized plan for you. And so I think you take us up on that, Ernest, as well. We'll share how you can do that pretty soon. But I think it all comes down to that education, that access, and then the plan, like Paul has been talking about so eloquently. Let's give a little bit more specifics on those first 3 steps. So is that good? Are we firing up the slides here? Okay.
The slides are fired.
Yeah.
But
Well, fantastic.
Paul, did you have something to say there?
No, I was just going to be even more direct with it is you jump on the phone. How do you start? You jump on the darn phone. Take action, right? You've already taken action to be here. Take the action. The next step is text Tierra. You're going to jump on the team or jump on the phone with our team. And they're going to walk you through exactly what we're talking about. That is step 1. Like point blank, nail, hammer, do that, right? Why? Because it helps you start on this journey we're talking about, right? It helps you do exactly what we're talking about. And Greg, I think in a bit, we'll talk a little bit more specifics about, well, what does that call look like? What are the questions we walk you through, right? But the step 1, to answer your question, shoot a text, right? Get on the phone. This is what we do for a living, right?
That's right. That number is 904-293-0341. You're going to be talking to Tierra, right? Like this is not going to some like automated bot. Tierra is a specialist at this. She's going to be able to like help you come into the system and understand this and set you up to succeed. So 904-293-0341, Ernest. All right, GC, you got some more?
Yeah, absolutely. So we've talked a little bit about this, but just defining what is your why. And that leads to questions about goals and resources. You first have to understand what is driving you. And then when you sit down with the Passive Income Club and our teams, what we are able to do is to take those things that really matter to you and break those down into goals. And then we also look at the resources that you're able to use towards those goals today, tomorrow, 3 years from now, 5 years from now. And we're able to emerge from that conversation with a defined plan that you can execute. And so as I was preparing for this talk today, Shively, Pablo, myself, we were all kicking it around, and I'm like, how can we best help folks that are just starting out with this goal of passive income and show them what collectively we can do for them? And I said, man, how cool would it be if I went back and I looked at some of our current clients, our current Fortune Builders Passive Income Club clients here, and say, let's look at what that process looked like for them.
Mhm.
Let's look at what their why was. Let's actually see what their answers were on their goals and resources profile, which is what every student gets to go and be a part of as they are going through the path of purchasing their first rental property, and start showing you guys from square one, what did it look like? And then as we get to go through the slides today, I'm going to show you how it's turned out for these folks. As we've been in, I've had so many success stories, it's fun to actually look. So first one here is a wonderful client. I remember working with this client in the very beginning, a much younger investor. This client was 33 when he came to JWB. He came in 2016. And one of the first things that we're always asking is, what is your why? He was very focused on his wife and his 3 kids. And at 33, he was already thinking that number one, normal average way of going about retirement is not working. And he wanted to do something different. And he was so excited to start when he was 33 because he understood the power of compounding and the power of getting started when you're young so that your profits and your success grow on each other, and so that you can get there quicker, faster, more successfully. So at 33, he was already thinking of things that it takes most people decades to figure out after that. And he came to us and we said, okay, well, listen, you're obviously thinking different. This is the first question we ask. What were the original reasons that you got excited about building a portfolio of rental properties in JWB? And so this was his answer. Number one, trust. He lives in Hawaii. And he said, I know I'm going to be investing thousands and thousands of miles away. I want this to be passive. My first thing is trust. So he said, it looks like you're a trustworthy company. And the next thing for him was that it needed to be easy. He wants the process to be easy because he's very focused on his active income at this time. And so we said, well, it seems like you're in the right place. We then asked a few more questions. We'll go to the next one here. Just so you guys can see what the process of understanding what your why looks like. These are some of those questions that, just like Paul's 5-year-old son keeps asking over and over and over again, right? We're going to try to pull it out of you. We say, okay, well, can you describe your real estate passive income goals? Can you tell us what's in your head as far as a specific dollar amount, a specific time period? And guess what? This is what he responded. And you know what? His initial response didn't give us specifics. But what he said was, I don't necessarily need the cash flow right now, and I'm going to look to reinvest the profits for retirement. So let me just pause there. Shively, when you kind of understand what I've shared so far about this client, where's your head going when he gives you an answer just like that?
Number one, he's probably a Fortune Builder student because he's probably got some education on just beyond one profit center, and he's got the larger goal in mind. And the true wealth building nature of real estate is not just in cash flow, not just that one profit center, which is great. That's what initially pops in my brain. It's like, yes, this guy gets it. Great. Secondly, it's like, okay, if he keeps going in this direction, which I think he would, I haven't seen this yet, by the way. If this gentleman is saying, okay, I don't need it now, I'm willing to defer gratification, which is a huge part, it allow time to work for him. And some people can't, and that's okay. There's a different set of rules and plan we put towards that. So don't, if this isn't you, that's okay. In this particular case, he can defer some gratification. Wonderful. It opens up the ability for us to build a portfolio that's more long-term in nature, right? Now we need to start saying, okay, well, what kind of liquidity does he need? When is retirement? He's 33. Is he looking to retire by 40? Is he looking to retire by 60? What is that, right? So I need some more data. And then next thing I need to know, and you'll get to it in a little bit, is, okay, well, what can we start with, right? What are the resources he has to help start this deferred gratification clock going, where it's a flywheel of compounding interest, right? How do we get that going for him? Where can we start with this individual?
Beautiful, beautiful. It was all about the long term for him. And when you start to hear that, there's an understanding that he understands what's most important here is not necessarily $100 a month of cash flow, which we love cash flow. But for him, it's what is life going to look like 10, 15, 20 years down the road? And, I just pointed out that he didn't give me a specific answer when on his goals and resources profile when he filled that out. So guess what do you think we did?
Ask why.
We kept asking.
Yeah.
We kept
Kept
asking.
asking.
Of course we keep asking because we have to understand where we're going. This allows us to be the financial engineers to put this portfolio together. Continue to ask more questions here. In what ways will achieving your passive income goals change your life? Hope you all get familiar with these types of questions because as you reach out to Tierra and you start to engage in this process, these are the questions that we're going to ask. And here's where he just kept talking about his wife and his 3 children and that financial security for him was the most important thing. And he's patient. He understands that great things like this are not accomplished overnight. It's not the way it is in rental properties. So when we talk about his focus, growth is the most important thing. And it's okay for cash flow to come a little bit later. Paul, do you want to add something?
Yeah, that one was big too. And I love asking this question because, and it gets a little bit to, if we did ask the question in this particular case of what's the downsides he's potentially trying to avoid. In this particular case, I would start to ask questions of like, okay, you mentioned financial stability and security. What level of risk are you willing to take to get to that, right? And that, Pablo, that's one question you and I didn't talk about earlier is, okay, you want all these things, whatever they are, right? Whether it's deferred gratification or more instant gratification, I got to go now, right? Okay, well, what level of risk are you willing to take to get there, right? And that's where it's then really dives into, okay, well, we need to make sure we're working with a good partner that's got a good track record. If stability and financial security are really, really important, we got to pick the right partner who's done this a lot of times because we can't afford, right, the big risk, big reward deals, right? And maybe we want to skew your overall investment portfolio, maybe away from the market, the financial markets that have a lot of this, and more steady Eddie growth, right? Maybe a little bit more real estate. So maybe instead of that normal 60-40 split everyone talks about, maybe this particular gentleman's 80-20, right? So there's things that, that one statement tells me a lot that I would want to claw into and say, okay, let's pick the right partner for you to make sure you are really trustworthy and confident in this partner who you're going to invest your dollars with. We're going to spend a lot of time there and helping you understand picking the right partner is more important than picking the right piece of real estate, right? Because the right partner can make an average piece of real estate really good. A bad partner, right, who manages it, puts a tenant in there for you, does all that stuff, can make a great piece of real estate really bad, right? So that's where I would spend a lot of time with this individual, right? And I would really, hey, okay, security and stability important to you? Okay, we're going to stop the whole show. We're going to talk about picking the right partner because that's super, super important. And then we'll get into timeline and all that other stuff later.
Well said, brother.
Yeah, I love that. And speaking of right partners and questions like that, Clara has a question here. Clara Duffy's saying, is there a cost to all this? And Clara, no, there is no cost to this. This is included with your Fortune Builders membership, right? This idea of being able to get on a phone call with JWB, have that plan built for you, go through this process. So this is really, I don't know if we mentioned this earlier, but this is all included. Part of being in Fortune Builders, you get access to all this stuff. You get this guided experience. So we'll keep on going with this like demo, GC. What do you think?
Absolutely. So there's one type of client. Some of you might be able to relate. Maybe you're super young and you're just starting out and you're in your late 20s or early 30s and you're really wide beyond your years and you're starting to think about what life's going to look like in 20 years and 30 years. And if you're in that bucket and you're here today, you should be so proud of yourself. And that's really why you should be jumping on the phone now, because the things you can do today, it's like so much easier for you because you're so much younger. You got time on your side, but then there are other clients that we have that are a little bit older, right? Maybe 10 years away from retirement or less. We have many clients that start while they're in retirement. We actually have a friend of the Not Your Average Investor show.
He's here. He showed up. Ken Moline. Ken Moline is in the house.
We often tell Ken's story. He started investing with JWB when I believe he was 83 when he started, right?
In his early 80s.
Yeah. So there's wonderful stories of anywhere that you're at in your timeline. The next one I wanted to point out is kind of like an in-between, right? Maybe it's not all growth, right? For the previous client that I was speaking about and showing the answers for, that was all growth because that's what his goals, that's what his why dictated. That's what his goals dictated. Well, then I want to show you another example of another client. And this is kind of an in-betweener. For him, it was cash flow and growth. And we start to begin to understand this through him and his goals through his profile. So there's another question, of course, or another answer, the same question here. Describe your real estate passive income goals. For this client, he said, my goal is to invest approximately 200 to 250,000 of my income a year into real estate over the next 7 years. Over the next 3 to 4 years, I would like to reach my limit of 10 mortgages. He already has one, while purchasing single-family rental properties outright with cash. Once I have 10 houses, I'll devote all my cash flow to paying off my mortgages one by one, while also acquiring more properties. In 15 years, I plan on having 30 rental properties, with 20 of those owned outright. Shively, when you sit down with somebody who has this picture in their mind, how excited do you get to help that individual?
Oh God, it's literally like I get the warm and fuzzies, man. It's amazing, right? Because number one, this person has done a great job, right? They've educated themselves. They understand some of the concepts like we teach in the rental property boot camp, right? That we've been teaching on these webinars for a long time. That you have access to at the Fortune Builders community. It sounds like they've been on our website. They've been part of Mastery for a while, and they know what the heck they're doing, which is great. If they're like, how do you do that? What do you mean to take my cash flow and pay off a mortgage? How do I get to that? Okay, if you're there, that's cool. Jump on the phone anyways. We can still help you get there, right? But this person's been through the program a little bit, which is great. And I love it because it's specific, it's actionable, right? But also it provides the guardrails, right? The boundaries of plan building of, okay, I'm going to financially engineer this for individual. He's given me a lot of details, and I know very specifically what his goals are. So then I can start to put a plan in place that are very much just marching him towards those goals, right? Which is, it's great. This is a person who is very invested in his financial future. Not just the 10 grand a month, that'd be great. I love it. Yeah, it's nice. No offense, Pablo, not trying to pick on you. I've been there. Everyone's been there. It's all good, right? But this person is much more specific. Their success rate is probably going to be a lot higher than an individual who comes to us and says, yeah, of course, everyone wants 10 grand a month. Yeah, I will take 10 grand a month. You know, and they kind of go through this process and it's half-hearted. You're going to get a half-hearted result. Very simply, right? You know, we can lead a horse to water. I can't make him drink, right? This person's drinking already.
100%. And he came to me. I remember working with this individual, and he just said, listen, I know what I want, but here's my problem. I don't live in the right market to do this, and I don't have the team to do it for me. I can't, I see the promised land here, but I can't get there unless I have the right team supporting me in a market that is designed to crush it in rental property investing. And well, again, we said you came to the right place. Asked him a few more questions just to give you a little bit more color of what clients and many of you out there will be asked these same questions, right? What type of answers would you get, right? So in what ways will achieving your passive income goals change your life? This is one we love to talk about. This is the fun part of this. This is why we have built JWB and the Passive Income Club to do this. And we talk about how this is going to allow him to retire early and enjoy the lifestyle that I want in the future. A lifestyle by design is really what I remember about my conversations with this client. And I think many of you can relate to that as well. So no matter where you are in your journey, we're going to help you understand, is it max cash flow right now? Is it cash flow and growth? Is it growth and cash flow later? We're going to help you understand really what strategy is best for you. And then we're going to get to the fun part, which is the actual building of the plan, which is step 2.
Okay. Let's talk about that.
And this is great. I want to take a minute here. You know, Greg, in the chat, and I'm seeing a little bit, we can't get to every single question here, but in the chat, it's great because we're getting, hey, here's where I'm at. Here's my goals. Here's what I'm trying to do. Here's my why. Love that, right? Now, we can't build plans for 100 some odd people in 20 minutes with just me and Greg and Pablo, right? This is a very customized thing. It's a very private thing. We take this very seriously, right? This is very private. This is very personal, okay? This is very custom to you, right? You know, what I'm going to tell Pablo when we build his plan may be different than I would tell myself or my dad or my father or my brother, right? Like, we're all different people. It's very custom to you. So I see some people like, oh, I'm stuck at 9 properties and I got to find the funds to get to my 10th. How do I get past there? Great. That's a whole different set of goals and education that we need to get you for those specific goals, then I'm looking to get my, how do I get a mortgage on a property? Or it's in my retirement account. I want to use my retirement account dollars and get it out of the stock market and invest there. Or I need to, I wish we all would have invested, 10 years ago. That was the best time to invest. Guess what they were saying 10 years ago as well, too. Oh, I wish I invested 10 years ago. It was all the best time to invest. And guess what they were saying 20 years ago, right? So everyone has a unique situation and a unique set of conversation and education points that need to happen to help you get to where you need to go. We're trying to make the point and give you the broad picture, but this isn't paint by colors, right? This is a Picasso for every individual situation. Right.
Well said, man. Well said.
Yeah. And that's why you need to jump on the phone. Really. I mean,
100%.
right. Like, we're talking about, a lifestyle by design, right?
Yeah.
You can't do that without investing some time, so that's why I would encourage all of you, if you have these questions, a lot of the questions that you're talking about in the chat, great time to reach out to Tiara. And to set up a time.
I put it in the chat again, but just to call it out, if anybody's just an audio learner, 904-293-0341, 904-293-0341. I feel like that attitude of like everybody, it's like throughout all of human nature, you hear, hey, this younger generation is soft, and I wish I would have bought real estate 10 years ago. So two things everybody says. All right, so let's keep going with the plan, GC.
Yeah, so now here's the fun part. I wanted to show you guys, okay, this is back in 2016, and the most recent client is the example we're following here. So I wanted to show you the plan that I actually built for this client in 2016, and then we're going to show you how it's been working out and what it has done today. It's a really fun story that we could see thousands and thousands of times over and over again. So as a part of this process, understanding the why, understanding the goals, breaking those down, the resources, helping to understand, are we in cash flow now? Are we in growth now, cash flow later? What we're able to do is to let our team be the financial engineers that we love to be. And so, how cool would it be for you to know, okay, listen, I've got this goal, I've got these resources. I now know I need to purchase this many homes in order to reach that goal. And not just this many homes, I need to know when I need to purchase these homes and how I'm going to do it. If you have a plan like that, you are going to succeed at a much higher rate in real estate. And almost no investors out there do that, especially when it comes to rental properties, which kind of blows my mind because we have that type of a plan in many other places, right? Financial planners sit down and they have an entire plan that is going to get you to retire. It's called Growth Fund 2055 or whatever, right? Like it's a very normal thing, but in real estate, for some reason, we forgot, right? So many years ago, as Passive Income Club, we said, this is how we can create the most value for people so that they can reach their goals. So here's the plan that I got to build with that client here. This is the client who was so specific about how he wanted to get to his goals and to have a certain number of paid off properties, a certain amount of passive income. So I broke it down with them, and we have the tools to do this. This is, again, free of charge, and all of you have the same opportunity to have a plan built for you just like this. For this client, we were able to break it down to the monthly passive income goal that he wanted through JWB. So while he shared numbers that were actually bigger than $11,000, $11,250, we understood, listen, JWB wasn't his only source of income. He had properties in other places. So we're able to take that information and to make sure that the JWB plan fits in with the bigger picture. So for his JWB portfolio in 2016, he walked in and he said, listen, I'm expecting $11,250 a monthly passive income. You'll see one of the questions there is, how long do we have to do this? It was 10 years for him. He wanted to achieve this. You'll see here that that expected net cash flow per JWB property, this was in 2016. And for properties in 2016, we expected $700 a month when they're owned free and clear. Well, guess what? That's gone up a lot. We under-promised and over-delivered there. And of course, as the years have gone by, that's well over $1,000 now for each property that is owned free and clear. Broke it down into 16 rental properties acquired through JWB. The average number of properties purchased per year, 1 to 2 in the beginning. That's where we were thinking. Again, this was back in 2016. I'll show you how that actually has worked out. And then we also talked about retirement accounts as potentially funding the purchases for his overall goals. For him, it didn't make sense. For some of you, that may make sense, and that might be an asset that helps you, again, get to those passive income goals even quicker. So again, this is the culmination of all of this work, all of this time that we get to spend understanding your goals at a deep level so that you can walk away with something like this and know exactly where you're going and when you're going to get there.
Awesome. Just throwing it out there. Denny Davis is saying, Pablo and Greg, seeing these client feedback sheets are money. There's so many different whys that led to different whats and hows, and all tailored by JWB. I'm connecting emotionally with these other clients right now. I'm loving this episode. Denny, I'm putting this in the chat, but like, you should have seen Greg's face light up when he was telling me about this new approach of just like really wanting to show kind of like from beginning to end, the why to the plan to the outcomes, which we've never done before. So
we
good
really
feedback,
have
buddy.
it. Well,
yeah.
Thank you. And Denny, thank you for being here. Denny is one of our most successful clients. And, our most successful clients, they're not just successful and they sit wherever they are, kind of do their own thing. No, they're engaged. Denny is on our show every Tuesday.
Yeah.
And it's no surprise that he's one of the most successful investors that we have here. Man.
Keep going with this?
Yeah.
All right, let's go.
Well, let me just give a few other notes because I want you to see how much time and effort and care goes into this plan.
Yeah.
And I love dusting knocking the dust off of this one back in 2016. We made notes. I made notes here and I said, okay, this client wants to be more conservative. He understands returns will be better by buying all financing as early as possible, but wants to add in some cash properties to give extra income and a little more peace of mind. Guys, this is financial engineering that happens when you're working with a team that manages $1.3 billion in real estate, right? These types of advanced concepts are how we can supercharge this portfolio. He mentioned to me many times that this portfolio he's building with JWB is the equivalent to his bond holdings. He was replacing that. And so when I understood that, I say, okay, this needs to be conservative. I need to make sure there's even more cash flow here because now I understand at a deep level what we're trying to accomplish here. So we moved forward, and his original plan was to buy 1 property in cash and 4 with financing in the first round. And so I asked him, why is it important to buy 1 with cash? And for him, it was about having the peace of mind to have 1 owned free and clear. And also, he wants to invest about $250,000 right now because he currently has that money in a bank account. And if he invests that amount, it'll get him to about $250,000. And so all of this is the value of the plan. You can imagine if he had just got an email in his inbox of a property that somebody said it was a great deal, and he just started buying, right? You can see the difference here between why he's been so successful versus why investors who just make knee-jerk reactions off of an email, unfortunately, generally aren't.
Got it.
So his plan became to buy 5 a year for the first 3 years. We were able to see the value of supercharging, and it's going to be fun to look at its success here in a second.
Kristen is asking, can you explain the benefit of below the 250K insured level? What is the benefit of being under 250K?
This was 2016, and I don't remember what he was talking about for that insured level, to be quite honest. It's been many years. So, that one tripped me up. I'm not exactly sure what I was writing down at that moment. Many times as we're making these plans, we're making these notes internally and writing as we're chatting. So to be quite honest, that has no bearing on the overall plan, the insured level. So Shively, anything to add there?
I think, yeah, the FDIC insured level in any one bank account is $250,000 more than likely. So he's like, hey, I've got this money in the bank and it's only FDIC insured with Wells Fargo, B of A, whatever bank. The government basically only backs that up to $250,000. If you have more than that in the bank, it's not really insured, right? So that's probably what he was talking about. I don't know. I haven't seen this before. I'm going through this the first time, just like all of you sitting on the call are too. So that's what I would assume he's chatting.
You're 100% right now. Thanks for helping me remember that. You're exactly right. So he had more than that. He wanted to get it down below that as a part of, his overall peace of mind strategy, which is really important to him.
Okay. So move on to the next one. So they've given you this thing. You built the plan. Now you want to talk us through how they executed the plan?
So this is the fun part. This is your investment in FortuneBuilders and Passive Income Club puts you in a place to be able to work with experts who have done this literally thousands of time. And so, and the benefit of working with folks that have done this for so long and worked with thousands of clients is you actually have a track record here where you can go from idea or why or goals and resources to plan, and then you can see how it's turned out some 15 years later. And so now I'm going to show you how both of these clients that we saw it from day one with their goals and resources, how has it worked out for JWB? So you see what's possible for you if you start the process and go through the planning, that you could be just like these clients. So for our first client, we're going to look at the plan that I just built with you. This is the client, again, who's focused on cash flow and growth, right? He wanted to maximize returns, but he needed peace of mind. So he started with 4 finance properties, and he also bought one in cash. Well, he's been a client since 2016. His plan has been fully executed to where he has purchased 16 JWB rental properties, just like his plan initiated back in the day when we built it in 2016. And he's continued that same model, that same methodology. He buys 3, 4, or 5 properties at a time, and there is a healthy mix of most of them being conventionally financed with some of them being cash. And what he does over time is he rolls that positive cash flow in, just like his initial plan dictated, to aggressively pay down the debt so that he could achieve that passive income goal that he stated. The original goal was $11,250. I'm happy to share that he surpassed that goal well before the 10-year mark, right? He hasn't been a client for 10 years yet. And so he's accomplished his passive income goal, and we've really helped him reach early retirement.
Nice.
And here are the numbers. Here's how it shakes out. So one of the benefits, again, of working with a team that has done this thousands of times, we understand the 5 profit centers of rental property investing, and we report on them as well. So you can see that this client's average rate of return every year has produced just about 24% on his money. His total profits have been, well, I can see we went to the next club.
Yeah.
Well, there we
I'm
go.
too excited over here.
All right. So
Yeah.
I was like, I thought it was a little bit different.
Yeah.
All right. So going back to cash flow and growth, the client I was just describing, 19% return on his money. He's earned over $2.7 million in this investment strategy with JWB and Passive Income Club. And you can see how it's broken down. He's got home price appreciation is the largest component there. It will always be that way when you invest for a full market cycle, not just because we had a nice run up in appreciation, but it's not only that. He's earned hundreds of thousands of dollars in principal pay down, tax savings, and over $500,000 in net rental income. And I still am good friends with him and his wife. I've seen both of them. They weren't married when they started. I've seen them get married, and then, of course, get to enjoy this lifestyle that they designed, that we've been able to be a part of.
2.7 million bucks, 18.5% return. That's pretty good.
Every year.
That's pretty good, man.
Each and every year.
Yeah.
While creating peace of mind.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
We know we could have actually juiced these returns higher.
Yeah.
But it was the right plan for him. And of course, we've been able to underpromise and overdeliver.
All right. Give us this other one that I cheated on.
Well, there you go. Well, so for our client who was super young, 33, from Hawaii when he started out with just, I believe he started out with 2 rental properties. And again, client since 2016, he's worked his way up to now 7 properties that are that he conventionally financed, right? He didn't have the need for that extra cash flow today. So we built a plan and executed the plan based on his strategy, which is growth now. And when you hear growth, most likely we're going to use leverage to the best of our abilities. And for him, you can see his returns are higher because when you use leverage, generally you get higher returns. So this is that 24% return each and every year since 2016 for this client. It's absolutely changed his life for him, his wife, and his 3 kids. Earned just about $900,000. And again, you're seeing how these profits are calculated, right? We understand how the wealth pie looks. And home price appreciation, of course, is the biggest chunk. It will always be the biggest chunk if you hold on for a full market cycle. But those other profit centers are super important because they hit the bottom line on a monthly basis. They help you pay your bills. They help you make decisions of what you need to do for work or how much you need to work or what optionality you have there. Again, could not be more just happy and proud. When I see examples like this and I get to relive examples of this, it takes me back to why we started this company, right? Because I've been able to enjoy a lot of this success but seeing and helping other people enjoy it through this beautiful thing of rental properties, which is most people don't realize it's right underneath your nose. You just need access, relationships, education, and a team that can execute a plan.
Paul, you got something to say?
I do. Greg, I love seeing you get all fired up, man. I love it. I love it. Those of you who don't know, Greg doesn't get that fired up that often. I love that, right? And I can tell your heart's in the right place, man. And you're doing good work, which is great. One thing I want to make abundantly clear. And Greg, you said something here that was really, really cool, right? So that last client, he's been a client since 2016, and he has 7 properties. Did he start with all 7 at once?
No, he didn't.
The other client has been doing it since, I don't know when. They have 16 properties. Did he buy all 16 at once? No, right?
He didn't.
In fact, that goal, I think, if I remember right, was 1 to 2 properties per year. I believe I saw that, right? So we get a lot of these questions. Okay, well, I can't do that. Greg, that sounds great, but I can't do that because I don't have hundreds of thousands of dollars sitting around right now. Well, guess what? Neither did I when I started when I was 18 years old, right? Neither did Pablo. Neither did Greg, right? Neither did these people necessarily, right? So if you have $250,000 that you can invest a year, great. If you have $10,000 you can invest a year, great. If you have 30, great. There is a plan for where you are, right? And part of that plan may be, hey, you've got Fortune Builders, you got the mastery program. You know how to flip and wholesale and crank. Go flip a couple more houses, and when you get X amount of dollars, which you now have a set goal for, you need X amount of dollars to get started to buy your next house, to go from 9 to 10, do 2 flips, put that in, you've got your next passive income property. Or, you see what I'm saying? It's custom. It's everyone has the ability to access this. Everyone has benefit in doing this, right? Because we can take the resources you have now and show you exactly what your plan is, and then a future plan on top of that. Whether you've got millions of dollars right now or you don't, it doesn't matter, right? The most important thing is get this process started, because the sooner you get it started, the sooner you start to accumulate all of what we're talking about, right? Again, whether you're deferring gratification, whether you need instant gratification, it doesn't matter. Get on the horn. Let us help you. This is what we do. Literally, Greg's getting passionate. I'm getting passionate. This is what we do. This is why I still work, right? Like, I could be the guy who's hiding. I've got passive income. I'm good. But nah, I like helping families. We like doing this. We're good at it, right? This is why we're here.
Yeah, yeah. And we got plenty of other kind of people like me on the show here that have been also investing and doing it. Darlene's just saying right here, she texted us saying, clients since 2018, acquired a few properties every year. We have 7 properties now and 3 are already paid off. So that's under 7 years, already 3 properties paid off. This stuff tends to like happen for you. I know that I've only been doing it for close to 5 years. I'm right now at the moment where I have enough equity where I'm really looking at that idea of like refinancing, picking up another property without any extra money down for me. So this stuff just kind of happens faster than you think. The way that it was explained to me when I was first getting started by JWB's team is it's just like getting on base, right? Like, Paul, you're a famous baseball player, right? Like there is
in a previous life.
It's really just getting on base, right? Like all of these properties get you on base. Every once in a while, someone's going to hit a home run and clean the bases. Sometimes someone's going to hit a double and move you over a couple of bases, right? I don't know how deep we want to keep the baseball metaphor, because I don't know how universal it is anymore, right? But like the more that you are getting on base, the more that you're getting stuff into play and taking swings at this thing, the better that this stuff like keeps on adding up for you. And it doesn't take as long as you think is kind of like my biggest takeaway from my short amount of time doing it.
It doesn't if you speak with people who have done it thousands of times.
Yeah, that makes sense.
I mean, it will take you a long time if you try to figure it out on your own and you succumb to all the obstacles and all that. But one conversation might unlock 10 obstacles and overcome them, just because you get to speak with Tierra, you get to speak with other members of Passive Income Club. Yeah. I mean, that is the key. That's what I saw on stage at Fortune Builders many, many years ago. And I walked up to Thane and I said, I want to do what you're doing. How do I do this? How do I get access to you? Yeah. How do I get this education? So all of you have that same opportunity here. Would absolutely encourage you to reserve a spot. This passive income strategy session is available for all of you as members of the Fortune Builders Passive Income Club. And you know, the success that we've been able to have for folks over and over and over again, it's right there for the taking. It's free. I mean, it's already included in your services with Fortune Builders and Passive Income Club. So I sincerely hope you take advantage of it.
Yeah, and speaking of surrounding yourself with people that have done this and just having like the access to other folks, right? Like if for those of you that are new on this show today and you're seeing Denny and Lee and Michael Santoris and Darlene talking about their experiences and a bunch of people just kind of like sharing, we do this every Tuesday, right? Like on this Tuesday coming up, we have what is always our most attended show is the JWB quarterly market update, right? It's kind of like the inside info into what's happening in the real estate market, how the current economy is affecting things. Gregg always gives like a data plus perspective on the outlook of what's going on out there. But more than anything, you'll find 70 to 100 people that show up every single week. The chat is just as lively or more as what you see here. Just people kind of giving each other advice. Some people get together on the weekends as well. I know that Jen is about to host a meetup in Northern California coming up. So if you're there, you can connect with folks there, right? Like proximity is power, right? Like I would not have gotten into this if I did not surround myself with the right people. So this is just a shortcut to that. You have it in Fortune Builders. You have it in the Not Your Average Investor community. It's I call it leverage, right? Like having access to people is kind of like the oldest form of leverage in my book.
Well said, brother.
Paul, what'd you think? What'd you think of this new? What'd you think of this new format GC put together?
I love it, man. For me, it's coming back home, man. I've been doing this. I've been doing this for 15 years, right? I love it's, you know, we call it a new format, but really it's getting back to basics, right? I love teaching on home price appreciation and C3X and, you know, compounding, cash out refis. I love talking about all those advanced things too.
Yeah.
But why, you know, at our core, our responsibility is to educate our community. And the best thing I can do is our mission statement, empowering your purpose through financial education. And it all starts with what's your why? Everyone's custom. And then we can start building the education that's custom to you to help you get to where you want to go. I mean, that's what I love doing each and every day. So thank you for giving me the opportunity to do what I love to do, man. I appreciate it.
We appreciate having you, man. GC, you got any other words?
I mean, it's the best part of what we
Yeah.
get to do, you know. Shively, myself, you know, we've dedicated our career to this, and there is nothing like the beginning process of helping somebody, enjoying the success all the way through, enjoying that success when you help people accomplish their goals, and you know, it's what you know, what becomes motivating after doing this for so long. It becomes hollow if you're not focusing on these success stories, right? It's got to be about more than just making a buck. Right. So this is what drives us both. So thank you all for being here. And, you know, really excited that you all had a great time too. Thank you all for being here and being so lively in the chat. And we'll continue to bring these stories to you the next time we get an opportunity to do this.
I'm feeling it from you guys. You know, I feel like we've done 400 plus of these episodes. Paul, you've done at least 24 of these, right? Like that's why you're the Hall of Famer. And we get into these advanced concepts. It's easy to like fall in love with like the crazy arithmetic and the spreadsheets and all the different levers that real estate has. But I think this week has been a big eye-opening experience of like the true joy of going back to the beginning, connecting with that like source, teaching it from the ground up. I think everybody gets different kind of perspectives when you start back over, being able to look back and empathize with it the same way that Denny was doing, you know, and it's been really cool to kick it around with you guys today. We never take it for granted that you just took an hour out of your day to join us. So really, really appreciate you being here. Hope you come on Tuesday. And from here until then, GC, any pieces of advice? Don't be average. We'll see y'all. Thanks, Paul.